It's Ben Halsell here, and here in this tutorial we're going to be having a look at the Datapop plugin that's available from FxFactory. Now we're going to be having a look at a few of the different animations that you can use in Datapop. We're going to look at how to edit some of the settings, and then we'll also have a look at how we can work with different backgrounds behind our data. The Datapop plugin has a lot of very cool features in here that are going to be useful if you want to create different types and styles of infographic, and we're going to step through them. This is the second video in a series of videos on data and creating infographics in Final Cut Pro 10. In the first video we had a look at how we can create data animations in Keynote, which is a piece of software that is on every single Mac. So definitely do go and have a look at that first video. It's got a lot of very cool tips in it. But in this video, we're going to be focusing on Datapop. So let's dive in and have a look at a few of the different features. So the first thing we have here is this percentage infographic. And we're going to have a look at how we can modify a couple of the different settings for this one. So we're going to come into a timeline that I've got set up here already. And we're going to be working on this timeline just with this background image here behind our infographics, and we'll have a look at how we use different kinds of backgrounds such as gradient backgrounds and also image or video backgrounds as well. So we're going to come up to our titles and generators here, which if you installed Datapop already, then you can come down and we're looking for the Stupid Raisins Datapop, and you can see there are a whole bunch of different kind of animations that we can work with here. If you hover over them, it's going to show you a preview of the animation and kind of how it works. And in some of these animations, you've got a ton of different options that are really handy when you're setting up different styles of infographics. Everything from graphs to pie charts to these infographics where we can actually customize the graphics that we have up on screen. So we're going to scroll down first of all to this fill infographic, and you can see we've basically got a bunch of people and the graphic fills up. We're going to drag this down to our timeline, and at the moment we have it animating on and it's running over 5 seconds. I'm just going to stretch that out a little bit, and we're going to modify some of the settings here. So the first thing we can obviously modify is the text on screen that we have here. So basically we can highlight our text and modify that. We can enter text values for the source, and then we can come into the title inspector to actually control some of the styles of this particular infographic animation. So the first thing we can do is modify the percentage, and I am using some stats from the American Red Cross, which says that 46% of Americans have had some kind of near drowning experience. So we're going to use that cheery statistic as part of our graphic, and one of the reasons for that is that we're going to actually use a kind of swimming graphic in here and look at how we can modify the standard man or different kind of images that we have here into our own kind of customized graphic for this animation. And we're going to change this in two places. So we're going to change the fill amount to 46, so 46%, and we're going to change the fill value to 46 as well, and that's going to give us our number here. Once that animation is finished, it's going to stop at 46%. So we're going to type in our text here. And then we're going to change the style here, and I've got a couple of styles set up from a previous project. So we'll just scroll down and uncheck drop shadow, and I'm going to scroll up and increase the point size there, and we can just drag this down a little bit, and if we type in 0 here, that's going to keep everything lined up nicely. So 46% is the number of Americans afraid of drowning. Now we want to change the graphic of the man here. So we're going to come back into our title generator options. And here we've got some options for the man, the lock. We can change this to a house. So if you're doing things like real estate videos and that type of thing, then this can be really useful. And then we've got things like clouds for any web-based graphics, computers as well, and then a variety of other kind of different options here that we can use for different infographics that we're creating. But what we're interested in here is this custom option up at the top. And once we select that, we need to scroll down, and we're looking for the drop zone here. So essentially within this drop zone, we are going to drop in an image with some transparency. So I'm going to come into my library across on the left hand side here, and we have this swimmer, which doesn't really look like anything at the moment because basically it's a black image of a swimmer with a transparent background, but we'll see how this works. So I'm just going to tap X here to select all of that, and we'll drag it down to our timeline. Just makes it a little bit easier to access that. And then when we're here on our animation, we can come down to the drop zone and then hover over our swimmer here, and you can see now we've got a ton of little swimmers in there instead of the man. So that's kind of the perfect image there for this graphic. And then we can modify this further as well. So we've got some options for zooming in on that, which we can't really do too much because the graphic almost perfectly fits. We can change the pan of it. So if your image, if you want to kind of move it within that space, then you can do that. Or we can probably move it up and down. Maybe we want the line to stop just a little bit there, so it looks like it's 46% at the top of that last row there. So you can see we can really easily change that image. And basically this is a PNG image. You can export out a PNG image from different applications, or if you create the transparency in Final Cut Pro 10, then you can use that image on the timeline instead. So that's one quick example of the data pop animations that we can use. Our source here is the American Red Cross, so let's just change that. So let's match the American Red Cross colors here. So if we come to our title options here, we can come to our gradient, and we can then modify our colors here. So I'm just going to select a red that I've got already, and we'll double click here, select another red, and then I'm just going to darken this off a little bit at the edge there. And then maybe we'll also scroll up and we'll just change the color of this to a pure white. I'm going to scroll up. So here I'm just going to change my fill color to a yellow, and we will leave the start color as this kind of gray here. So let's play this back. And then maybe we'll just change this percentage color here as well to a yellow. Kind of looks like the lifeguard like colors there. And we can also as well change the options here to currency or scientific options as well. So we have some other different options for the format. We don't have to just use a percentage. This little box in the middle here allows us to kind of move around our graphic. We can resize it, we can have it at a little bit of an angle. So we've got some nice little options for modifying that as well. And we'll just scroll down here and change the color of the Red Cross text to yellow as well. And that's starting to look quite nice. So now let's move on and have a look at the map here. So basically with the map, we're going to come up to our titles and generators again. We'll scroll up and we're looking for these locations. So we'll drag this down and we'll just stretch this out again so it runs over a bit of a longer period of time. Now the first thing I want to do here is actually change the map that we have. So basically I want to use a map of Canada that has the provinces delineated. Now if we go to the title options here, you can see we have World 1, World 2, we have countries like Canada as well, but we don't have the delineation of the provinces. So I'm going to use my own graphic here as well. So we're in our title generator options, we'll go to custom, and then again we're going to go to our library and we're going to drag down this PNG image of Canada. And once we've got that on the timeline with our custom setup selected, we'll scroll down and we can select our drop zone. Okay, and you can see we're basically able now to pan and zoom and get that map in there nicely. Now we have got some other elements in this Canadian map, so I'm actually going to modify this just a little bit to remove some of the text that's at the bottom here. So we've just got the kind of pure Canadian map. So I'm going to cancel this for the moment. I'm going to highlight my Canadian map across here, and we're going to go to the effects panel and we'll just scroll along here, and we're going to go down to our masks, and we're going to use the draw mask, just drag that onto our clip. And basically we're going to use the draw mask just to remove these little bits of text that we have at the bottom here. So really roughly just drawing around that map of Canada. We've lost the text there now, and so if we come back to our graphic, I'm just using Shift and Z to zoom to fit the timeline, and basically I'm going to select my generator here. We'll come up to the options and we'll go back down to our drop zone again and just select that map, and now you can see when we zoom out of that, so we'll zoom out until the whole map of Canada fits in there. Maybe we'll chop off that little bit at the top. So we can see all the provinces here, and we'll apply the clip. And basically with this option, we have a limited number of pointers that we can move around here. So we can't do all 10 provinces and the territories as well. So we're going to just stick to BC, Alberta, and we will go for Saskatchewan as well, Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, and Nova Scotia. So we're just going to set up those pointers on these, and you can see what happens when our map animates is we get a nice little animation of those pointers as they pop up as well. So for these pointers, we're going to modify the text in these, and we'll just do a couple just so you can see how it sets up. So I'm going to select what is the United States in here, and we'll type in British Columbia here. And we will grab the population of this from Wikipedia. So grab that, copy it, and paste it in. And then we're going to format this. So basically we've got some formats set up already, and I'm going to format these as different styles, which you can see I've set up. And I've got a tutorial on how to set up these styles if you want to watch that. And then also we're going to go to our type options here, where we can change the options for our different pins. So this is pin number 1. So if I highlight that, I'm going to make the background red. And then we can do the same for pin number 2. Okay, so we'll come across here. We will type in Alberta, grab the population, and then format these. So we'll have province population and the province name. So you can see now as these animate on, we've nicely modified those, and we've carefully also kind of used those different styles so they fit nicely into the little pop-up boxes that we've got. We will type in, and we'll just scroll down here and modify the face color as well, and just increase the size here. In fact, if we scroll down, we're going to turn on the outline, and we'll make this white with a little bit of a thicker border. Okay, so I'm just going to go through and quickly modify all of these, and then we'll have a look at one more thing here. Okay, so if we come back, play this through, we've got our nice animation of the populations popping up. If we come back to our title options, then we have some options for turning on and off the build in and build out. If we have a look down here, we've got options for the style of the map. So we can change the kind of tint of the map as well, and have that as a different color. And then below that, if we scroll right down to the bottom, you can see we have this option to have a gradient as background, a solid color, or to make it a transparent background, which is going to reveal the background behind there. And I've actually got another image up here which we're going to use. So we're going to keep this nice and stereotypical. And I'm going to have a little bit of Ken Burns animation on my moose here. And we'll just make that really minimal, so just a teeny tiny bit of animation there. And the last thing I'm going to do is just add a little bit of a color tint to this. So I'm going to come down and use a little bit of a sepia tone on there. We'll hit done here. Just come to the middle so we can see that. So we've got our kind of nice colorful graphic in the foreground here. We can adjust the sepia tone and the amount of sepia tone that we have there. And then we can also kind of mute the image a little bit as well by modifying some of the exposure settings, maybe just kind of darkening it down a little bit and making sure that this map kind of really stands out. So you can see here we've got this nice little bit of animation. And then as we get to the end, we'll eventually animate out. So the last thing we'll have a look at is one of the graph options that we've got. So if we come to our generators again and into the Stupid Raisins data pop, you can see we've got some different kind of area graphs and horizontal graphs and that type of thing that we can use. We're going to have a look at this area graph. So we'll drop this down here and we are going to work with the temperatures of Okanagan Lake, which I like to swim in here in the summertime. And basically we're going to use this same type style that we had before. We'll just increase the size of this a little bit. But what I'm most interested in is how we work with this y-axis. So I'm going to come to my type options here, my title options, and essentially we're going to have this running from 0 to 25. So the maximum value here, if we scroll down, is going to be 25. And we're going to change the number of lines here to 5. And that's going to give us these nice increments of 5. And then basically these are going to be the months. So I'm just going to type these in here. So we have our months here. Our y-axis label will be temperature in C. And if I do Control, Command and Shift, it's going to bring up my special characters options here. And what I'm looking for here is the Celsius symbol, so we can find that here. Close our character options. So we've got our temperature in degrees C, Okanagan Lake, and then we just need to modify these. So in July and August we get up to around 20 to 24 degrees, and then we're gradually down to like 2 or 3 degrees in the winter. So we're just going to sort of eyeball this, and at the moment we're in May and June, it definitely feels like it's around 18 degrees. So we have this kind of curve of the temperature back until December when it dips right down. So something along these lines. And I couldn't find precise temperatures month to month or averages for the lake. So we just basically have these kind of rough settings here. So if we play this through, you can see we get this very quick animation. If we come to our type options, we can scroll up and we can change the draw time. So we'll just increase that. And we'll slow it down a bit more. So you can see we get this nice kind of animation of that graph coming onto the screen. And then again, we also have this option for the background color. So we can change it from gradient to transparent. And so now we can have this drawing over the swimmers in the background. So I'm going to just grab this clip in the background and we're going to use the colorize options. And we'll just tweak these colors. So I'm going to go for a bit of a dark blue and a blue that's somewhere close to that. So you can see now, we just need to drop these down a little bit more. And increase the intensity till we can see the type. So we still have the swimmers in the background, but now you can see the graph nice and clearly as it animates on. So again, kind of super easy to set up, super nice options in there with the Datapop plugin for Final Cut Pro 10. And then we have the source for this, which is, let's just say it's my thermometer. Okay, and we can play with the speed. Sometimes I would let these animate slowly and then put them into a compound clip, which would allow me to kind of speed ramp different parts of this and pause different elements of that graph. So if we do Shift and Z here, you can see the different graphs that we've made. So you can see we've got these three really nice different types of animations. There's lots more options in Datapop. They're definitely worth exploring. One of the really nice things about FxFactory is that you can try out all these plugins, the watermarked version, in your projects before you buy them. We're going to have a look at a couple other data plugins from FxFactory as well in this kind of series of tutorials, so do follow along. Hit the like button, the subscribe button and all that kind of jazz and get updated. Do remember to go and check out the first of these series of videos, the video about Keynote and exporting graphs and animated graphs from Keynote with transparency so you can overlay them over the top of your videos. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, as usual, just leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial.